Hey everybody, what's going on? It's Dr. Kramer at Hope Upper Cervical Spine Center, and today I wanted to take you through a very quick discussion about the resolution of headaches and migraines in a 61-year-old female who has been struggling with them for the last 5 years. She came to us with complaints of neck tension, head heaviness, brain fog, interruption in her capability of thoughts, and a daily overall sense of fatigue that she chalked up to a problem as a diagnosis of migraines and headaches. And so what we have done here is we have started a process of helping her understand that the upper cervical spine is the controller of the human nervous system. And when there is a problem with your upper cervical spine, you will create a system that is in red alert. And that will give us the signs and symptoms that I just described to you, right? This idea of a headache, this idea of a migraine, this idea of general brain fog and fatigue. It's very common in most women. And most of the time what we'll find is that the medical opportunities will be, some form of an invasive drug that will leave us feeling even worse than when we started the product, than before we started the intervention. And so what we have done here is that we took this wonderful woman and we showed her her upper cervical spine. And this film on the left over here, so we're going to come over this film right here that I'm going to talk about. This is where my mouse cursor is at right now. What you are going to see here is that we have done a basic assessment of her upper cervical spine. And what this looks like is that there's these yellow dots that you'll see right here. These are following the back of your skull. This is called your foramen magnum. And what we do is we bisect that line, we drop it down the center of the human body. And if we look at this, right, her general spinal alignment is actually very, very healthy until we get to her C1. And if we look at that, you can see that she has a slight head tilt to the left. Her nose is actually left of midline. You can see that her shoulder on her right is a little bit dropped. It's not, not too bad on this. But if we look at this difference here, we got a 32.5 minus a 29.17. What we're really looking at is a big translation of her C1 vertebrae to the left. And what that means is that when our cervical spine has a torque, almost like a kink in a chain at the top of it, it will interrupt the ability of blood to go into the brainstem, of blood to go out of the brainstem, and of cerebral spinal fluid to circulate your brain. As a result, your brain will virtually kind of be sitting in its own cesspool without proper exchange of nutrients, which will then over time generate the red alert sensation that you have of brain fog and fatigue. Then when we put stress on the arterial system, you will start to get things that mimic headaches and mimic migraines because your body is trying to maintain a normal pressure environment inside of the brain so that it has enough blood, right? It's the highest consumer of oxygen. And so sometimes that may be causing us that pounding sensation we get in our head. And so in this, we provided a series of adjustments. This has really been about a 6-week window. And we adjusted her on the left side of her neck. And if we go over here to the right side of film, what you will see is that her spinal alignment has been maintained. However, her head tilt is now gone. It's no longer falling left of her head. And you will also notice that if I do my little math equation here, 3169 minus 31.39, we are down to a 0.3 millimeter difference between the left and the right side, which is ideal in cervical spine stability. It also goes in with the reporting from the patient that she hasn't had a headache or a neck issue in weeks. She's been able to work outside. She's been able to work at her career, which is really a stressful job. And she's been able to actually, thrive in the season of life that is actually typically most challenging. And summer are really the early summer months in Texas, especially with allergens, especially with, pressure environmental changes from the storms that blow through. As a matter of fact, she has actually reported that for the last 3 weeks, she has had relatively zero issues. This just goes to show us that when the principle of upper cervical is respected and the adjustment is provided at the right time in the right place, and the protocol is followed, that the results that you are asking of us can and will be delivered if you are willing to follow through. So with that being said, this patient is on her way to a stable neurological presentation, which is favoring a stable cervical spine, which will contribute to longevity in her life. I hope this is a really beneficial, lesson for many of you today, and that these live films may show that there is a really great progress that we work through here at Hope Upper Cervical, and the fact that we continually reevaluate your progress with us. Because if you remember, winners keep score.